What is up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Before we get too deep into this video, you already know what I'm going to say. Be sure to comment, be sure to like, be sure to subscribe. On the road to 2,000 subscribers. I'm trying to get there before the season, and I can't do it without you guys. So if you enjoy this video, hit the like button, chat it up with me in the comment section. But most importantly, don't forget to subscribe so you catch all of the videos and all of the content that we're pushing out over here at Bleeding B&G, where you get the most raw, uncut, and unfiltered analysis on your Washington Commanders. And without further ado, today is Thursday, July the 25th, 2024, and it was day 2 of training camp. This was the second day of training camp practice, and we're just going to look at some of the news, the notes, and the highlights coming out of Ashburn today. The topic, we did a video yesterday, so if you didn't check that out yet, go ahead and check that out. The topic coming out, or the trend coming out of yesterday's practice was we were going full bombs over Baghdad, no pun intended, with Jayden Daniels putting on an air show yesterday. And as I always say, it is training camp, so please take it with a grain of salt. But I do remember training camps with Ryan Tannehill and Carson Wentz and Taylor Heineke and Sam Howell, but we weren't getting this air show even if we were passing on air. And Kaz Allen had a pretty decent practice yesterday. So I'm just interested to see what came out of Ashburn today. So without further ado, let's get into some topics. So Dan Quinn opened up his presser. Ben Standing says, Dan Quinn time says another red zone day in practice plus game time management situations. So you see they're really emphasizing real specific game scenarios. And I love that. Shows that they're paying attention to the little small things. And that's something that we really couldn't say about the old regime and the old coaching staff. As I told you yesterday, I was a real big fan of hearing that they were working on red zone early because it forces Jayden to become a better processor pre-snap when the windows are getting smaller, when the windows are getting tighter and things of that nature. So today to hear that they're working on game time situations, that's more like 2-minute drill, clock management things, 4-minute offense and things of that nature, some more red zone, go-to-go situation and things like that. So yeah, I love to hear that. Same thing John Quinn touches on. Dan Quinn says that the coaches aren't necessarily thinking about the 53 yet, but they're watching everything that goes into the tough decisions to put the puzzle together. I don't know if that's necessarily true. I don't know if I gave Dan Quinn a sip of truth serum. I don't know if that will actually be his answer, but it's the politically correct answer. And I have to take it for what it's worth. And that quote shows me that they're really evaluating guys with no bias and no judgment. I told you the last regime, at times I think that they went with guys that were their draft selections over guys that were actually better during camp and things of that nature, or guys that had a higher draft pedigree and things of that nature. So with that quote, Dan Quinn shows, like I said, I don't know how true it is, but he's saying that he wouldn't go into his evaluations with those biases. So we got to see if that does come to fruition. Dan Quinn on Terry McLaurin, he's a pro's pro. When he steps into the arena to compete, there's no BSing around. So I did watch Dan Quinn's opening presser, and this did stick out to me because I don't know if any other Washington Commander member of the community has caught up on this. But it is kind of interesting hearing Dan Quinn hype up Terry McLaurin, because we love Terry McLaurin. You guys know we love Terry McLaurin over here. He's our beloved wide receiver number 1. But we do have to remember that Dan Quinn's defense did hold Terry McLaurin to 1 catch in 2 games in the 2021 season. So I'm sure that he doesn't think that Terry McLaurin is a top 5 caliber receiver, just for the simple fact that he's been able to take him away in many games where he's schemed up against Terry McLaurin. And that was our sentiments all along with Terry McLaurin. I don't think that he's been top 5 ever in his career. Teetering top 10 to 12. More realistically after last season, like 12 to 15, which isn't a knock on our guy Terry, but it was interesting to see Dan Quinn speaking on him. I don't know if anybody else has picked up on that train of thought either. Dan Quinn says that Jamin Davis has the speed and size needed for the pass rush outside linebacker, but it's not something yet that they'll learn in a few days, and until the pads are on, we'll keep working on it. So in that video yesterday when they were working with the off-ball linebackers, I was a little upset. I didn't see Jamin. I don't know if he got pushed back to the line, to the back of the line. But it seems as if Jamin Davis might be making a transition to like a full-on edge rusher, full-on edge defender. In a 4-3, I don't know if he's going to be having his hand in the dirt a lot, if he's going to be rushing from a 2-point stance or things of that nature. But it's going to be interesting to see because he does have some of the physical profiles that you need to track as a good edge rusher. You know, he has plus speed. He has long arms. He has about 33-inch long arms, and those more so of an arm length of a typical outside linebacker rather than an off-ball linebacker that he's been playing over the course of his career in Washington. Quinn said Jamin Davis has the speed and length. Davis has been working as a pass rusher in OTAs and training camp. They'll continue to work him in on rotation and third down and 2-minute situations. So it seems like he might just be a designated pass rusher. And it seems like they just might be trying to squeeze and see whatever juice they can get out of a first-round draft pick. This is essentially a career year for Jamin Davis. His fifth-year option didn't get picked up. So just trying to see if he can. As I'm reading this, is Jamin Davis going to be a camp casualty? Is he going to be a surprise training camp cut? Because it's seeming more and more like it might be headed in that direction. But let's keep moving on. Dan Quinn on Fedarian Mathis. I've been impressed by Phil. He's just a guy that's not going to miss this opportunity. We're not the highest on Fedarian Mathis, so it's positive to hear that coming out of Dan Quinn. As for composition, I think he meant competition. Quinn said the evolution from his previous head coaching gig is with the seeking players capable of contributing in multiple ways. And we heard Dan Quinn say that. We heard him, I forgot, was it in his introductory press conference in Washington where he said in his time out between Atlanta and Dallas, he was studying a lot of basketball and studying a lot of like positional play to see how well those versatilities translated to actual production on the field. And he saw like a correlation in guys being able to move better in space and contributing in different aspects. And I think that's going to be a key factor in when you're deciphering this roster down to 53 guys. A guy like Quan Martin that can play the cornerback position as well as the safety position. A guy like Brandon Coleman that can play the tackle position as well as the guard position. Ricky Stromberg, that might help him. That might put a feather in his cap. Just the simple fact that he can play the guard and the center position in a pinch. So hearing him talk about that is interesting. So let's get on to some on-field stuff. The first two on the field, shout out my man Mitch Tischler. The first two commanders on the field are Jayden Daniels and Sam Hartman. So Jayden Daniels is already showing those leadership qualities, those intangibles that you need as a quarterback. And this time, Sam Hartman has the basketball in his hands. So you see that Jayden is already rubbing off on guys. Pause. No diddy. Working on those range of motion movements and things of that nature. Dan Quinn on Mikey Sainristil. He has exceptional quickness. Said that he and Daniels are more mature than the average cat, but he said both have humility. And that's the trend that I've noticed about everybody in this class. I wouldn't say that Johnny Newton's necessarily immature, but he hasn't struck in me as an overly mature guy like Jayden Daniels and Mikey Sainristil have. But we got to remember that Jayden Daniels is going to be 24 at the end of the season. Mikey Sainristil, I just think that he's just naturally mature. You hear his answers, they're real thought-provoking. And I think that he's going to be an instant contributor on the field. As I've mentioned on my previous episodes, I think that he's going to come in and be the day one starter at the nickel position. And to have Johnny Newton, I think people are sleeping on the type of impact that Johnny Newton and Mikey Sainristil can have, the type of instant impact they can have on this defense. Dan Quinn said Ryan Kerrigan, the Commanders' all-time sack leader, now their assistant LB's coach, has been integral to Jamin Davis' development as an end-of-the-line pass rusher this offseason. I love hearing that. This is a big reason why I don't always think that, you need to play to be able to talk about the game. But I do think that you need to have some former players on your coaching staff just for the relatability factor and the fact that they did it before. So they'll be able to translate the information on the field easier. So hearing that Ryan Kerrigan is doing that with Jamin Davis is great as well. So some tours. So we got some footwork drills with Cliff and Jayden we can look at really quickly. Love seeing that, working on the little things, and then Jayden throws a dot to end it. And I love seeing Cliff being intense because that's something that, isn't necessarily tied to Cliff Kingsbury. He's more perceived as a laid-back guy, but he seems pretty intense in these drills and clips that we're seeing coming out of camp. I can't wait to get down there on Sunday. Because as you guys know, the media can't record a portion of camp, but we're going to be there with our eyes laid on it. Boots on the ground in Ashburn come Sunday. So make sure you're tapped into the channel and make sure you hit that subscribe button so that you're not missing any of that. Same footwork drill. We see the same intensity out of Cliff Kingsbury. We see some special teams tackling work, which is going to be interesting with the new kickoff return rules and things of that nature. And here's a drill where, you're really not tackling at the beginning of training camp. So they're really tracking the hip and working. And I think these are like on the more game-like situations that Dan Quinn said that they'll be touching on today. Guys back catching punts during special teams drill. Jamison Crowder, Dax Milne, Demir Bird, Kaz Allen, and Jahan Dotson. And Emmanuel Forbes is also back there. So the Emmanuel Forbes special teams punt returning experiment seems to still be ongoing. I'm curious to see how long that lasts deep into training camp. But then, as I mentioned before, that might be along the lines of Jamin Davis, where you're really just simply trying to see what you can get, squeeze the juice out of the talent that you drafted in the first, that the previous regime had drafted in the first round. But the other guys, Jamison Crowder, Dax Milne, the usual suspects, Kaz Allen, Jahan Dotson, and Demir Bird. Curious to see who ends up winning that competition. We got some individual quarterback work from Jayden Daniels here. Working on footwork drills. So you see that Cliff Kingsbury places a keen emphasis on footwork, which is important. It's something that I didn't really necessarily see the quarterback work on or emphasize a lot when I was at training camp last year. And it's curious to see because they still have the same quarterback coach in Tavita Pitchett. But is that a Cliff Kingsbury thing, or is everybody on their P's and Q's knowing that we got a new regime? Some more Jayden Daniels. And this was probably my favorite clip out of the entire session that came out today. I'm going to pause it. A teaching moment on the D-line in between these two reps from John Ridgway. DL coach Daryl Tapp showed him a technique with his hand placement, and assistant coach Sharif Floyd adjusted his feet. You see the difference immediately. That is real coaching. That is coaching, ladies and gentlemen. So if you wanted to know why we were questioning Ron Rivera and his coaching staff or whatever mash unit he assembled last year, it's because we didn't see these type of things. And you see the benefits of having former players on your roster. Daryl Tapp and Sharif Floyd both have played in the NFL in the last 10 to 12 years. So they've recently done it. And we can see what they're talking about. So head defensive line coach Daryl Tapp working with Ridgway. Then you see him working on his hand placement. And then you see Sharif Floyd instantly come in. Sharif Floyd was just in the league about 5-6 years ago. And you see he's noticeably more explosive off the ball. That's my favorite clip that came out of camp because it lets me know that it's real football, real coaching being implemented in Ashburn, and it's not just talk. Like you see it with your two eyes. Individual receiver work here. Terry McLaurin. I think that was Jamison Crowder. Chris Route by Luke McCaffrey. Let me find out Luke McCaffrey putting people in the mix. Might have to call him white chocolate. Marcus Mariota got the first team reps again today. I think that's just the acclimation period. their version of rookie hazing or just taking it slowly, not putting a lot on Jayden Daniels to start. Because as Dan Quinn said, we're not fooling anybody. We know what we're doing. Nice job by Tyler Biadasz showing off a DT, allowing B-Rob to get through the line for a decent game. That's one of the few reasons why I think that the run game is going to be prevalent and better this season. Simply, we're going to be running the ball more. But I don't think you guys understand how crucial it is having a good center. They're usually the second smartest position on the field, sometimes the first. Matt Eckler is shifty. Just took a handoff, made a few jukes, and gashed the defense. I love hearing that. That was one of the things I really touched on in my training camp preview episode is I wanted to see if he had that juice back, and to hear that is a positive sign. Damn, Zach Selby was working. While everybody else was asleep, Zach Selby was tweeting. Really like the job that Brandon Coleman did working against Jean-Baptiste, 2 rookies, so I'm not going to hold too much stock into that. But to see that he is holding up against his fellow rookie is a positive sign for Brandon Coleman. Mariota gets the first 2 reps on 7-on-7. The result is a scramble and a bullet to John Bateson at the goal line. And this is the play everybody started to talk about. Hell of a play by Jayden Daniels on a TD pass to Mitchell Tinsley, made the leap and grab over the defender in the corner of the end zone. So it seems like Jayden was just chomping at the bit to start busting their heads open again like yesterday. And it seems like he just was instant offense as soon as he came in. And he was working with the twos this time, working with Mitchell Tinsley. Nikki Javala talked about that play. So it had to be a beautiful play. So look out for that on Commanders' social media pages today. Daniels comes in and completes all 4 passes in this series to Davis, McCaffrey, Mitchell Tinsley, and Austin Eckler all had receptions. So it does seem like the second team offense. Jayden was working with them, but hey, he carving them up. That's all you can ask for to max out the reps that you do get. Daniels threw a perfect fade ball to Mitchell Tinsley to the same play. So that must have been a dot. Really nice play from Daniels. B-Rob takes a pass from the QB to the house. Second day in a row. So I'm telling you now, buy fantasy stock in Brian Robinson, especially if you're in PPR. We don't really consider Brian Robinson as to be a receiving back, but he's been showing since last season that he got hands. He's been showing since last season. So guess what? Buy some stock in him in fantasy. You heard it here from Bleeding B&G first. Daniels got, with the 2-minute drill, found a wide open Jeremy McNichols. So it seems like Jayden Daniels isn't locking in on any target, and he's really taking what the defense is giving him, which is how you're supposed to play the quarterback position. Terry McLaurin holds on a deep shot from Mariota during the 2-minute drills. He beats Forbes on the play. What's new? But then Forbes makes up for it with the pass breakup on Terry McLaurin 2 plays later. Not going to hold too much stock in that because y'all told me that Emmanuel Forbes was locking Terry McLaurin up last year. So I'm gonna hold out on my hype on Emmanuel Forbes until the games get played on Sunday. Oh, he can show me something in the preseason. Saturday afternoon, so he can show me something in the preseason. We got some more individual work from Luke McCaffrey, from Scott Abraham. Good whip route. You see how much faster he is than whoever number 84 is. I'm not sure who number 84 is. I gotta brush up on my Commanders roster. But then we had some post-practice press conference from Frankie Louisville and Sam Cosmi. Sam Cosmi talked about wanting to run the ball last year. I think we were last league in the rushing tips and first in passing, and you see where that got us. So Sam Cosmi's disdain for Eric Bieniemy continues, and I get it. I totally get it, especially if I think that I'm better in the run game than the pass game, and you don't play up to my strengths. I totally understand it. Cosmi, I want to be one of the best in the league. I feel like I am one of the best in the league. I'll be dirty, I'll be nasty, and I won't take shit from anybody. I love hearing my right guard talk like that. Talk that shit. And you can see that he's building on the confidence that he had because, quite frankly, throughout the second half of the season last year, Sam Cosmi was dominant at the right guard position. And it seems like he's carrying that confidence and that same level of play into, what is this, year 4 for Sam Cosmi? And last but not least, we got Sam Hartman out minutes after practice or long after practice is over, still working on the 2-minute mock drill with tight ends Ben Sinnott and Colson Yangoff to show you he wants to make this team. And that's one of the reasons why I do think that we end up carrying 3 quarterbacks. And to finish off this video, Cosme said that Jayden Daniels is not a look at me guy. That's something that you've heard from everybody in the building. He could be like that. He's earned the respect from a lot of guys around the building. And absolutely it can be like that when you're coming off of a Heisman and one of the most dynamic quarterbacking seasons in college football history. But he chooses not to be. I think that comes along the lines with his maturity, with him being 24 years old. And yeah, he's already getting his guys to buy in for him. And we saw this trend with CJ Stroud last year. I don't know if you guys have seen the clip when he was really like trying to get Michael Dieter, who's actually on our team now. He was sweating through his jersey and he was trying to get him a towel. And like Michael Dieter and the offensive lineman loved it for him. Loved him for that. And I think that Jayden Daniels has those same type of qualities, because once you get the guys to play for you, they're going to go balls out. They're going to give you 100% effort. And that's when it starts to translate on the field. So that's all the news and notes and highlights coming out of Ashburn for day 2 of training camp. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Yeah, a lot more content to be pushed out. Stay tuned for day 3. And I can't wait till we boots on the ground in Ashburn for Sunday. I promise you now, you don't want to miss that episode. And next Thursday, we're going to be boots on the ground as well. Thank you guys for tuning into the channel. I'll check in on you guys later. Peace.